I'm Robin Dennis.
And my name is Mike Michelle Dennis.
Honey, you begin.
Okay, I'll begin. Well, I'm physically male, and everything's in good order. And I live my life almost exclusively as Michelle, and that's the consistency with my gender identity. For me, the opening into the world happened really when the internet happened, about mid-90s, 95. But it took me 4 years to get the courage to go and connect physically with meeting people like myself. And so I went to the support group in Burbank, and it was for men who cross-dress as women. And so I went there as Mike, and I had all of my clothing and makeup, and they have a changing room there. So I took that all into the room, and I changed. And then I sat on the edge of the bed for, seemed like half an hour, staring at the door, because I had to walk through that door, down a hallway, through the lobby, down another hallway to get to the meeting room. And I was convinced that as soon as I opened the door, there were going to be police dogs and floodlights and, you know, the stuff that your mind creates. And I finally did, and walked down the hallway through the lobby, and nobody paid attention. It was so disappointing. But at that moment, what I got really big time is that a lot of this fear was self-generated. Now, I was really cautioned by the people there to use common sense and to go places. And that's one of the things, by the way, I'm really understand about women. I mean, most men don't have a clue about this, but there's always this residual anxiety hanging out in the back.
Yeah.
Like, where am I? How far is it to my car? Do I have my keys? Is there adequate lighting? All of that. And most men don't have a clue about that. And so I think that's one of the advantages of being transgender. We have access to both ends of the spectrum, which adds to the quality of life. As most transgender people, we know at a very young age, for me it was between 3 and 4, that how life was going wasn't quite right. But I quickly learned that expressing this feminine gender identity, and I didn't have those terms then, but just feminine things was not okay. This is like the early 40s. And so that got suppressed. And I don't know if you ever try to keep an inflated beach ball underwater. It's really hard. You got to fight. I did that for 50 years, keeping it underwater. And then when our kids went off to college, and I just couldn't continue to keep it submerged. And what occurred was the internet for me. Then I began to hook up with people in my community to contact them, and the rest is history. And when I started to go out in public and express myself as Michelle, the marriage relationship, we had looked at it and figured we had completed what we wanted to complete, and she didn't want to be in a transgender relationship, and then we ultimately divorced. It was very difficult because of that lifetime spent together, but friendly. I think it's very comical. Robin's prayer to God was, I don't care if it's a man or it's a woman, so God's got a sense of humor and
Yeah.
both.
Oh, absolutely. For me, Mike Michelle is truly male and female.
I use that term consciously. It always generates a question, like, well, what's that about? So I get to dialogue with people about being transgender and what that means, and I like to leave them with, okay, so I'm about to be 73, I'm 5'7", 160 pounds, transgender, and I wear a size 10 shoe. So it's just a characteristic. And that, in effect, creates safe space for the next transgender person, whoever I'm talking to, will meet. And that's really important because the murder rate against transgenders is the highest of any group in the country. It's 16 times the national average. Violence, it seems to me, happens when, not because people are gay or lesbian or transgender, but it's because the attacker, their stereotype doesn't fit the person that they're talking to on how they should be. And unfortunately for some people, the way to resolve that ambiguity is violence. And so we have a great mutuality of interest in creating acceptance. I think what's beginning to emerge and is about to hit in a big way is the gender non-conforming, non-gendered, multi-gendered element of the population, which you may think this is astounding. I think they're going to dwarf in size of the gay and lesbian and the transgender community. And the fundamental issue is freedom of gender expression for everybody. A 65-year-old,
63-year-old.
63-year-old, never before married, bisexual Jewish woman can meet and fall in love with a 70-year-old,
No, 68.
at that time 68, you're right, 68-year-old, male to female, transgender, divorced Christian. Well, gosh, anything's possible.